I feel sort of more comfortable sitting where I am now. I'm not sure if you had the misfortune of watching me perform a clown show basically in front of the Djuma Cam Dam, but thankfully we're back up live. Eugene has managed to work some kind of miracle, and we're back up. Tara and Vium and Eugene in the control booth. Andrew dressed like a bandit again behind me on camera. Brent and Jean-Dre on the other vehicle, and we're most relieved to be back here taking a live sunset game drive in the Greater Limpopo Transfrontier Park. 3.5 million hectares of wilderness, wonderland. Our plan this afternoon is to head off back towards Buffelshoek waterhole, where we spent quite a lot of time this morning circling. We did have information of the Umkuhuma Pride coming south out of Buffelshoek. They may or may not be there, but it's been a very cool day, and as you look around in front of us there, you can see the beautiful light that is sort of infusing the whole area. It's quite heavy cloud, and I'm already wearing a jersey, so it's quite chilly. It's not very warm, and that's good for lion movement during the day. They like to move when it's a bit windy and a bit cold, and it gives them a better opportunity to hunt. So that's what our plan is. I know Brent is headed across to Arathusa. I'm not sure what his level of signal is at this stage, so you may or may not hear from him sooner than later, or I'm not really sure, but I'm sure I hope he'll be back up by the end of the day, or certainly fairly soon. Right, please remember, we love to hear from you. We love to hear your comments, we love your questions, and if you have anything to say to us at all, please send them through on Twitter, #SafariLive, or on the email questions@WildEarth.tv, and that's especially if you're a new viewer. Please feel free to send through anything you like. We love to hear from especially new viewers and all of you regulars who send us some wonderful questions and generate some incredible discussion while we drive around. It's not always big teeth and pounding hooves out here. Sometimes it's just an atmospheric drive, and that's when we love to talk about things and masticate the different arguments and things for why animals do the things they do and why the world is the way it is. Alright, so we are going to head off now towards the Buffelshoek waterhole and see what we can find there. There we go. And I hope you're getting an impression of how absolutely stunning the light is this afternoon. Andrew and I both have brought our cameras along so that Andrew might show me how a real photograph is taken. But I mean, look at that beautiful gunmetal sky. We've got some impala to the left. There they are. Also sort of quite enjoying this light, the lack of heat. Look how beautiful that light is. They'll try and stay out in the open as much as possible on a day like this, because it's a bit windy, and in the bushes, when the bush is thick and the leaves are rustling, it's very difficult for them to pick out noises and different things like that. And you can see also that this is a sort of fairly mixed herd. There are one or two, we can only see one ram at the moment, but there are lots of young rams, and there'll be a few adults there too. The rut is now definitely over. I've heard one or two of these silly rams wasting his time, but basically now, and in fact, if you look behind their tails, next time we get close to a ram, we'll try and show you. Their testes actually sort of atrophy slightly during this time of year, because the testosterone levels have obviously dropped off substantially. There's a fairly strong southeasterly breeze blowing. I mean, that's strong for us, not strong for the coast. And it's very fresh. There's a tremendous sense of freshness about the afternoon, and this, I mean, I just can't describe how wonderful the light is. Alright, let us press on. The temperature at the moment is about 20 degrees Celsius, which if I'm not mistaken is 59 degrees Fahrenheit, which is not, I mean that's not too bad at all, but there's a bit of a chilly breeze blowing. Sorry, 69, not 59. Sorry, Andrew, can we just have a look at this tree, if you don't mind? I don't mean to put you out. Hello Diane in Texas. While we look at this tree, you have very kindly thanked me for my Shangaan and Zulu lesson to you. You'd like to learn something slightly less ambitious to begin with. Alright, well we can definitely do that. We can do good morning. In Shangaan is Avusheni. Avusheni. It's A-V-U-X, which is pronounced sh, E-N-I. A-V-U-X-E-N-I, Avusheni, meaning good morning. That is a beautiful jackalberry tree we're looking at, and I simply stopped at it so that we could see it juxtaposed against the gunmetal clouds behind. And we gave Andrew an opportunity to frame it there with a lovely dead knobthorn on the left there. He's a bit of an artiste at heart, old Andrew, you see. And if you don't give him the chance to express it, he starts doing it on, you know, shots of you, which is not, you don't really want that. Beautiful. Thank you, Andrew.
Thank you, sir.
I know the signal might get a little bit dodgy on this road, but it will be very briefly if it does. Hello Julianne Houston, you want to know, nice question, what is the Shangaan word for wild dog? The Shangaan word for wild dog is hlolwa. So if you're Welsh that will present no problem, but if you're not it might be a little difficult. You put your tongue on the top of your mouth and then you blow. Hlolwa. That's one wild dog. Many wild dogs, so from 2 to infinity is hlolwa.
Hello everyone. Being out in the bush and being out there live has its technical challenges. We're experiencing some of that now and are working on it as fast as possible to get it sorted and get you back on the vehicle with us. Hello everyone. Being out in the bush and being out there live has its technical challenges. We're experiencing some of that now and are working on it as fast as possible to get it sorted and get you back on the vehicle with us.
Sorry about that, everybody. Yeah, I wish I could explain it, but I cannot, I'm afraid. But we're back up now on the northern boundary, heading towards Biffle's Hook Waterhole. So just in case you missed that, the word for wild dog in Shangaan is shlolwa. For many wild dog, mashlolwa. And you say that by putting your tongue on the roof of your mouth and then blowing. Shlolwa. Andrew, say shlolwa.
Shlolwa.
Okay, even Andrew can do it. So news is that we don't have any signal from Wendy at the moment. So you're stuck with my ugly mug for now. I think it's the weather.
Must be. How strange is this weather?
It's lovely though, isn't it?
Yeah.
Don't you think it's cool? Okay, I think we're back. Andrew and I were just saying how we think it may well be the weather that's causing the problem, but how it's just there's such an amazing feeling of energy around the place with this banks of cloud coming in. And you can just see on the ocean. We will make our way down the water. So we are going. No, I'm sorry about that, but we are. We can't see some segment either side. So here we are at Biffle's Hook Waterhole, and you can see we have the bachelor of Biffle's Hook with a new friend, a hammerkop, standing on his back. Hello Heidi in North Carolina. I have been to North Carolina, believe it or not. And you want to know, nice question, you're just as impressed by these clouds as we are, and you want to know if they're going to bring any rain. Heidi, normally at this time of year they don't. They sort of come in like this with a wind and then blow over. Most of the rain that we get doesn't actually come from fronts like this. It comes from big storms that build over the Drakensberg Mountains or come in on cyclones off the coast of Mozambique, and then they deliver rain sort of between November and March or April. And these things, I mean, they might drop a few drops. I've actually felt 1 or 2 little spits from the sky, but they are unlikely to drop anything substantial. So we basically just get some beautiful diffused light. Not excellent game viewing weather, I'm afraid, because the animals tend to hide from it. But, ooh, look at that. Sorry, that was a bird that nipped past, just chased a dove out of the tree that Andrew's on now. That's the dove that's just landed. And it was a little accipiter, which is a little sort of hawk. There he is. You can just see him in the middle of your picture there. It's a Gabar goshawk. I'll show you a picture of him. A Gabar goshawk. You know the Gabar goshawk from the shiny white rump that he... But for a lonely fellow like old Bob there, I suppose it's quite nice. There is the Gabar goshawk over there. That's him there with the white rump. So that's what I saw as he flashed over. These birds are quite difficult to tell from each other, but for, you know, simple things like that white rump, he's the only one that has the white rump in flight. So quite easy to tell from that. The Gabar goshawk. And they'll take small birds. That dove was probably a bit big for him. He's almost the same size as a dove. A little bit bigger than a dove. So that's why he didn't get him. Right, so not a huge amount else going on here at the waterhole. So we'll bid old Bob a fond farewell. And he did give us a little yawn while we were looking at the bird, so we'll watch him. They'll do that. It's not actually yawning. Here we go. Oh, well done, Andrew. That's actually a bit of a territorial display, so he's just telling us who's boss here. And an interesting thing today, you know, as friendly as Bob looks, they tend to be very easily threatened, hippopotami. And if you were to guess how many sharks killed people every year, you'd be astonished to find that it is only about 5. Only about 5 people every year are killed by sharks worldwide. And yet people are terrified of sharks when they go into the sea. Over 2,000 people are knocked off by hippo on a yearly basis. So a lot more deadly than your average great white, this hippo. But not if you, I mean, that only happens if you happen to get in between them in the water, and then you are in big trouble. If you don't happen to do that, you can enjoy Bob as we do on a daily basis. Right, so that was Bob and Biffle's hook, and we'll see what else we can go and find. Ready?
Yes.
You are definitely going to lose our picture briefly as we go through the dip here, but we will be back on the other side of the dam. Bushbuck. I do not hear the sultry tones of Tara in my ear, so I'm going to assume you still have us. We just saw a bushbuck there. I haven't seen anything in the way of tracks. He's disappearing into the bush, I'm afraid. So we're going to carry on. We're going to go out onto the eastern boundary and just see that nothing is crossed in. No sign of the lions, I'm afraid. So they've done precisely not what I said they would, which is fairly typical of animals out here. They don't act according to any textbooks. There's no such thing as average animal behavior. Much like with people. Never can tell with us. Can you, Andrew?
No.
Just have a look here. I know I have shown you this before, but for our new viewers and perhaps people who missed it, they were perhaps pouring themselves some gin and tonic while I was explaining it. You can just see there, I'll get out and show you actually, because Andrew, if a buffalo comes towards me, will you let me know?
Will do.
This almost looks like it's been taken off by an elephant, but it hasn't. This has been mauled by a buffalo, and there are lots of buffalo that like to live around here. And what they do is you often see, we had questions yesterday about honeycombing on the top of the boss, which is the sort of helmet on the males, and it does tend to get quite itchy for them. And they come and they rub their bosses and their horns up against these acacia trees. And you can see the redness of the tannin here. They actually use the tannin here for tanning leather from acacia trees. And that's what gives the boss on the tops of the buffalo's horns that red color. And it does rub away some of the keratin which is replaced, but it gives it that kind of gnarled and rough look.
Can you show us how they do that?
I can try and show you how they do that. Thank you, Andrew. I'm going to punch you when we're all offline. They rub their heads as follows. Are you right?
Very
Happy
nice.
with that, Andrew? Thank
Very
you so
nice.
much. I wasn't foolish enough today. You've certainly solved that problem. So an important sign, that is, it's not just quite interesting to look at. If you're walking in the bush, very important to keep an eye out for signs like that. You don't want to surprise a buffalo. If you don't surprise them and you see them, they're normally absolutely fine. But they're the one animal that you probably don't want to surprise. Well, you don't want to surprise any animal really, but them quite especially. So the one thing the animals are doing, which I said they might, is hide from us on a day like this. Yalla. Hello, Don in Georgia. Nice question, a sort of conservation question. Who, how, and when are these roads built and maintained by? In the Sabi Sands, there are a whole lot of different landowners, and they are all responsible for sort of looking after their own little matchbox-sized patches of this magnificent wilderness. And so they will either hire outside contractors to come and look after the roads, or they have a full-time team that will look after them. So when I was at Londolozi, one of my jobs was to be in charge of the habitat team, And we had a team that had, you know, we had graders and all sorts of road building equipment, and we'd make sure that the roads were in a relatively decent state. And it's an important job because a road is a natural site of erosion if you don't look after it and drain them properly. So you do need to look after them quite carefully. Thanks, Don. Here at Djuma, I'm not sure exactly how they do it, but I'm pretty sure it's an outside contractor that comes in to do it. And you'll notice at Arathusa, if you drive along there, they've got a different method of looking after the roads. They have those fairly insanely high berms that you go over. And so when we're driving in Arathusa next, notice, or if we eventually cross the Brent, you'll notice that the vehicle does a severe up and down fairly regularly. Lily in Dayton, that's the Dayton Children's Hospital in Ohio, you have asked a wonderful question. Lily, everybody, is just 7 years old, and she's clearly got a far older brain on her. She says, how come the hippo will allow the bird to sit on its back, but is so unfriendly to people? Lily, it's mainly because we, over the many centuries, have been unfriendly to the hippo. And so they've learned to be much more afraid of us, and so they're much more easily threatened by us. Whereas that bird has never done anything wrong to the hippo, either now or over the centuries, and that's why he will tolerate the bird on his back and not worry about it. That's the first time I've seen that particular kind of bird on a hippo. Excuse the bumps, sorry about that. But I've seen herons and oxpeckers and all sorts of different kinds of birds. Right, so the great happiness is that Brent seems to be back online. Not only does he seem to be back online, he is with some elephants. So we're going to go across to him and we'll see you now.
Welcome on the Sunset Safari, everyone. Sorry about all the gremlins that we've been facing over the last little while, but fortunately we've managed to find a nice big herd of Ellies. My name's Brent and I've got Jean-Andre on camera with me, and welcome on the Sunset Safari. If those are new viewers, welcome. We are live, so you're seeing these elephants at the same time as me, and you are able to ask us questions about what we're seeing. So I'm just going to move the vehicle a little bit so we can try and get a better look at those elephants as they move down that way.
Apple leaf tree.
Yeah.
Cool.
Hello everybody. I see you're back with us. Sorry about that. I hope you didn't see me spitting me salt water on the floor. There's no need for you to have witnessed that. Sorry about that. We are obviously still struggling with a few technical troubles. I'm just going to get an update on the radio quickly. I heard something about Mvula, but I don't know what it was exactly. Andrew, come in. Andrew, do you copy Andrew? Hi Andrew, James here. Can you just go with that update again? Okay, copy that. No, nothing that affects us, I'm afraid. So we're now on the far northeastern section. And we're going to head south. I'm not sure, perhaps some of our regulars can tell us. Apparently Mvula is on an area called Mvula, at least an area called Nkoro, and we're going to head down there. But Brent is back up again for now. I'll probably see you sooner rather than later, unfortunately, but you're going to go across to him now.
Okay, I'm going to come over to you then, with this guy in front of us, right?
Welcome back. It seems like the gremlins are infecting everywhere, but fortunately we're still with these ellies. They are in a drainage line which could be causing some of these issues. Even if you do lose us for a few seconds, we are going to stay with the elephants for as long as possible, and hopefully they move onto higher ground. But while we're here, we're going to have a look. We've got quite a few close to us. We've got one right in front of us, but they are generally moving up this drainage line at the moment. And she's really getting in there. So elephants are incredible with their diet, how varied it is, and depending on the time of the year. So during the summer months it's almost 80% grass, and that changes during the winter months to almost 80% browse and only 20% grass. Browse is trees and leaves and that, so they do have a very different dry season and wet season feeding pattern, and this also means they have very different movements during that time. Hello, little man. I mean, this is actually quite a big herd. I'm guessing there's at least 30-35 elephants around. We can only see a few at the moment. Oh, he's having fast food on the run. Didn't even stop to feed, just grabbed a branch. So they're moving off into the drainage line a little bit, and unfortunately we can't get another visual from here. I'm going to try and move very slowly up on this high ground here to see if we can stay up above them as they move past into the drainage line. Not very often we get to look down. What So we're up on a high bank, and we So it's not very often we get to look down on an elephant, and we've got two young bulls in the drainage line below us. One there is eating off some sedge, and you can see it's got some leftover greenery from during the wet season. And obviously it's a semi-aquatic plant, so and grows around drainage lines and flooded areas, so getting a nice little bit of moisture, I'm sure, from that giant sedge. So we're right on the periphery of the herd. The rest of the herd is slowly mobile in this direction, but they're utilizing this drainage line to feed around because the water table is going to be a bit higher in this area, so some of the plants are still going to be holding a little bit more moisture and a bit more nutrients. And this guy is busy devouring a young leadwood. You can see there he's trying to feed off a bit of grass that's still holding a bit of greenery, not too dry. And you'll notice they'll be quite picky. And see how he just grabbed that little bit of roots that were full of dust and sand and dropped them again? It's amazing how dexterous their trunks are. Hi Gail, welcome on this sunset safari. Gail would like to know if you can judge the age of an elephant by its tusks. If not, how do you age an elephant? Gail, you can to a degree, but generally with elephants you're looking at size as a good age indicator, because certain elephants will have bigger tusks that grow faster than others, and others will have smaller tusks that grow slower. Size, like these guys we're looking at the moment, are probably around 20 years old, and that's purely from size. As an animal gets much older, around the head you'll start seeing depressions that form in the skull and the skin becomes quite a bit more loose than it already is. So generally the best way to age an elephant is by looking at the general condition of the body and their size. And elephants live a very similar lifespan to people, so around 60 years old. The only reason people are able to live much longer these days is because of all the medical advancements, and one of the most important ones that is very relevant if you speak about why people will outlive an elephant generally is teeth. So they only have 6 sets of teeth during their life, and once that last set of teeth is gone they have no way to replace them, and they battle to get enough nutrients from what they're feeding on. And with humans, I mean, even one of the presidents of the United States, I think it was George Washington, had a wooden set of teeth. So little things like that have definitely made a difference in the human's ability to live longer. And obviously all the breakthroughs with modern medicine. So you can see he's still feeding off that sedge. He's actually annihilated all the sedge that was there. Hi Debbie, welcome on the Sunset Safari. Great to have you on the back of the vehicle with us, Debbie. Debbie would like to know if it has been a particularly dry rainy season, and so therefore going to be a very dry season. Will elephants stick to browsing longer and that is definitely, they'll take advantage of the grass while it's there, but soon as the grass becomes too old or moribund for them to eat, they will leave the grass and move on to browse. And in some areas they will focus a lot around permanent rivers and feed off the reeds and grass species that will be around those rivers because there's water there all year. So that herd is slowly moving opposite us. I'm a bit scared to move just because we are in such a low-lying position, but I'm keeping an eye on them. Hopefully they're going to move up into the higher ground shortly. Hi Kathleen. Kathleen would like to know if we get elephant grass in this area. Kathleen, elephant grass itself is a bit of a misnomer. It's generally actually thatching grass, and the reason it's called elephant grass is not because elephants like to eat it. It is actually one of the less palatable grass species. It's generally because in certain parts of Africa, especially in your Miombo and Brachystegia woodlands and the Dambos, this thatching grass gets incredibly high, and it is high enough to hide an elephant. So it's more of a local colloquialism than an actual grass species. Hi Gail, welcome on the Sunset Safari, Gail. Gail would like to know, there's that particularly wrinkly little young elephant that we see quite often. I actually think he might be part of this herd. I did see one that looks similar to his mother, but I haven't seen him yet. Gail would like to know, can we tell whether he's going to grow into a particularly large elephant because of all that loose wrinkly skin? Gail, I would say not. It's quite difficult. I think he's just got a very unique sort of skin pattern on him, and I honestly cannot tell you why, but I don't think it's a precursor to him being a particularly large animal. He might become a very big elephant, but I don't know if we can tell at this age whether he's going to. Hi Dylan from Iowa, great to have you on the back of the vehicle again. Dylan would like to know, do elephants have a favorite food in general, or does each individual elephant have its own choice? Dylan, that's a very interesting question. I can't be 100% sure on the individual elephants, but they do definitely have certain species of trees and grass that they have a preference for at different times of the year. And one of those species is roundleaf teak in this area, and they will actually keep all the roundleaf teak very small and sort of almost like they farm it and keep it at a certain height, so it keeps growing out nice and young and new, so they get nice sweet nutrients, I would guess, from that young tree, and they don't ever let them get to sort of large trees. And the grass species, I know they do like fresh red grass, which is Themida triandra, which is probably one of the best grass species, the most important grass species in this area. Oh, look at that little guy. He's lying down on the top of the bank. Not sure, it looks like he's eating a little rhesus vine, but I think more having a good old fun time and trying to annoy the young bull at the bottom, who's actually got hold of a root. It looks like he's pulling little roots out there, but does definitely look like he's more playing than feeding. So if we go out to that young bull there, he's got a hold of a root of that russet bush willow there, and he's busy trying to break it, and it looks like he has succeeded. We've got a question from Kevin in Boston. I think he's getting annoyed with the youngster. Kevin in Boston would like to know, how can you tell whether an elephant is left or right tusked? Well, when we get a chance to see both this guy's tusks, we'll try to figure it out. Now, Kevin, what you're looking for is generally the one tusk will be slightly more worn, or actually in a lot of cases more heavily worn, and sometimes broken and at a sort of sharper angle. And that's because they use that tusk to remove bark from trees and for various other things, but the main reason is to remove the bark from trees. So what they're after in that bark is the cambium layer, and that's the layer below the bark that transports all the nutrients from the roots up to the rest of the tree. And that's in the root as well. So that edible there is definitely chewing on the root, the cambium layer of that root, trying to get those nutrients out. Oh, here comes trouble. He's thinking about coming down the hill. So it looks far more interested in playing than feeding. It's obviously not reliant on the little bit of vegetable matter that he eats at the moment. Be far more reliant on mother's milk still. Oh, look at that little guy. He's now going to try climb the bank at the steeper point. And he's having a good old time. So definitely not feeding as much as playing. Quite an interesting little fact that I'm not sure whether all of you guys out there might know, is that especially with this movie Jurassic World that's come out recently, and the original Jurassic Parks, the majority of the dinosaur noises are slowed down versions of recordings of elephants. So elephants even feature on Hollywood dinosaur blockbusters. So a lot of those noises are slowed down versions of elephants trumpeting and screaming and rumbling. They have a really vast array of sounds they can make. Oh, he's got an itch, a scratch. Making a proper little nuisance of himself there. Oh, big tough guy. Shake his head. Teach everyone who's boss. So unfortunately the gremlins have crawled into our radio comms as well. So I'm really struggling here to hear things nicely, but don't worry, I'm getting the gist of something. There's a question from London and Ontario. I heard that, so I apologize, I can't hear who it was from, but would like to know what happens, Jamie, what happens to Jesse, sorry, what happens to elephants when they die of old age. Well, Jesse, welcome on the Sunset Safari. We are in this particularly low area that is giving us some technical difficulties, but it is worthwhile because we're with such a wonderful group of elephants. Jesse would like to know what happens to an elephant when it dies of old age. What becomes of the body and whatnot. Look at this little guy having a whale of a time. Well, what generally happens is that the predators will feed off it once it's died. Lions, hyenas, I've seen leopard feed on elephant carcass, and vultures, carrion beetles, flies, so maggots, flies will lay their eggs in it, maggots will feed off them quite a lot, and basically all that energy and protein that was once a living elephant gets recycled back into the bush. Generally as a law, because ivory is a controlled substance, if we find ivory or whatnot, we immediately well, we don't generally pick it up, we'll mark it and then get the rangers to pick it up, because if you are caught even innocently picking up an elephant tusk out in the bush, you can actually go to get yourself into some very, very serious trouble, because it is illegal and it is a protected substance. So generally you would mark it and then go collect the correct authority and bring them back to it. So guys, unfortunately I am going to have to move again, so there could be some signal breakup because the elephants have moved, and I'm sure you would much rather look at the elephants than me. So if we do disappear, I apologize. I'm going to try keep on the high ground above these ellies so that doesn't happen.
Elephants. I imagine we'll try and get you back to them fairly soon. What we're going to do is to try and get you a magnificent view. In fact, I've just gone the wrong way. Hold on tight. Andrew, put your seatbelt on. I just want to try and get you a view over the mountains of the sun, because there are no animals in this part of the reserve. Well, certainly none that either of us can see. And Andrew's just going to pan across to the rays of the sun coming through this remarkable front. Look at that. Looks like a great big pot of gold, molten gold, being emptied from the heavens onto the Drakensberg and the towns just in front of it. Spectacular. We've done nothing to the colour there, that's really what it looks like. Isn't that lovely? So while we haven't been blessed with great animals, we've certainly been blessed with that incredible sky for the last few minutes. So we've done the entire eastern boundary now, no tracks. We've done a large proportion of the southern boundary, no tracks. We've done the entire northern boundary twice today, no tracks. So the lions are definitely still north of us and south of us, the two prides. But there will be, so I'm now on the hunt basically for some leopard tracks that I can find, if I can find them, and whatever else we may happen upon. So far, not a great deal. Hang on a second. a pearl-spotted owl calling close by. You can hear some arrow-marked babblers calling there. Now, I've tried this 4 times now to attract a pearl-spotted owl to the vehicle. Everywhere else I've tried it, I've managed to succeed, but for here. I'm going to try a few times now. I'll just listen and see if he doesn't call back or come flying over. This of course would make magnificent TV and make me look like a complete hero. But this owl is playing foul. He's not coming anywhere near us. One day I promise I will get it right for you. The pearl-spotted owl is basically the only bird you can fool like that. Well, not these ones, clearly, not the Djuma owls. The rest of birds, if you can mimic their calls, there's something in the tone that they just don't like, and that, you know, they know exactly that it's not one of their number. Hello, Dennis in Massachusetts. You want to know, nice question this, with no simple answer. When is the best time to come on safari in the Kruger area? Well, Dennis, for many years they called the winter South Africa's best kept secret. All of South Africans used to disgorge from the cities of Johannesburg and Pretoria and come out to the Kruger National Park and spend their winter holidays here because it wasn't so hot as it is in the summertime. I personally find the months of say between March and May to be my sort of favorite times. The edge of the heat has come off, doesn't rain quite so much, but the vegetation is still nice and green, and the days are still relatively long, and you can, because the edge of the heat's come off, you can spend most of the day out. You don't have to sort of rush back. But that said, the summertime is gorgeous. I mean, especially if you get the odd rainstorm, and you get longer days and very early, beautiful dawn mornings, but the middle of the day is pretty hot, but it's not too bad. And then the winter, the advantage is, okay, it's quite cool, but the bush is clear, and so there's not a lot of in the way, or, you know, all the trees have lost their leaves and the grass is down, so it's slightly easier to spot animals. And then sort of springtime, early summer is nice because it's the lambing season, so the predator viewing is very good, which is good for us and not great for the lambs. And you can also see the babies, and it's also just it's a time of rebirth, like it is everywhere in the world, and so there's a very special sort of feeling around the place. And then it's my favorite bit of the spring, as we watch a Natal Franklin hurtle up the road faster than Michael Johnson could. My favorite thing about the spring is the termite emergences, when the alates, which are the flying termites, come out of the mounds in great clouds, often just before the rains or during the rains, and it's sort of a very it's a wonderful culmination of the sort of termite life cycle, and it's lovely to watch. And you get a huge amount of activity around the termite mounds. Of course, you get all sorts of eagles and giant bullfrogs and things that go, and no matter how much they eat, still clouds and clouds of these termites flock into the air and eventually meet up with other termites, mate, and create a new mound. And so I really love the springtime. Hello, Leslie from the University of California. You want to know, and this is a very good question, how I can drive at the speed that I'm driving and still see tracks. Well, the answer is with difficulty. I'm not driving fast now. I'm doing roughly, what, Andrew, about 10 kilometers an hour? So it looks a lot faster than it is. But I'm keeping an eye out for tracks, and Andrew, while he's keeping an eye on his viewfinder, also watches out all over the bush. So while we're live, it's not quite as easy tracking as if we were, you know, without the camera. We do a lot more on foot, but you can still glance at the road every so often like I do and just check that there aren't any tracks. And then you also want to know, is this wild land or is it reclaimed farmland? It's actually a bit of both. It was farmed as ranch land, cattle ranch land, but basically in the wild bush. So while the cattle don't exist anymore, and I'm sure they had an effect on the structure of the vegetation here, it was never sort of pasture land, and nothing was ever planted in this particular area. But a nice question that, because it would seem that me old mate Brent has managed to re-sort out his signals. I think he's still at the elephants. So we're going to go across to him, and I will see you in a little while.
Welcome back, everyone. As you can see, we still, with these ellies, we've managed to perch ourselves atop a termite mound to try and get a bit of better signal, and still a nice to be above some of the ellies, although the others on the other side have moved off a little bit, and we can only see about 4 or 5 individuals at the moment, and only 2 very clearly. So they have not, unfortunately, moved from the drainage line, which is causing some of our problems. But if we keep still and we keep climbing on termite mounds, it's far better to have an ellie than not. Temperatures drop quite quickly. There's definitely a cold front moving in. Here we go. There's a little one popping out behind. Hi, Cameron, who's aged 5 from the Dayton Children's Hospital in Ohio. Hi, Cameron. I hope you're having a wonderful day. Cameron would like to know whether elephants ever fall down, and if they do they get hurt? Well, Cameron, they do sometimes fall down, but they are quite big and strong animals, so it's unusual that they will hurt themselves too badly. Little elephants, sometimes when they fall, more than get hurt, they sort of get a big fright, which makes them make a lot of noise, and they go squealing to their mommies. But generally they don't fall down too much, and I think more than hurting themselves, they're quite more themselves, just give themselves a big fright, which gives them a big scare and makes them run to their mommies, because they feel safe when they're close to their mommies. Thank you very much for your question, Cameron. So I just got some information from William and Safari. Safari said that George Washington actually used his teeth were actually made of ivory, and William's gone even further to say George Washington actually had many different sets of dentures that were made up of lots of different materials: hippo ivory, wood, and I think, what was the other? The one that really got me was lead. Can't imagine it could have been too healthy to have a mouthful of lead. But thanks very much for that, guys. I won't make the mistake again. It seems like George Washington was a man of many sets of teeth, like an elephant. So the temperature is dropping quite rapidly with the cloud covers coming over. Sorry guys, seems the gremlins have found us again. I was just saying that with the cloud cover coming in, it looks like there's a cold front coming off the coast, and it is making it quite chilly already. And you can see there's another one picking little bushes. Hi, Gilly in Wisconsin. Welcome on the back of the vehicle, Gilly. Gilly's got some really fun information for me. As I said, that a lot of the sounds made by the dinosaurs in the Jurassic Park or the Jurassic movie series was different elephant noises slowed down and played differently. The original Godzilla was actually lion roars played backwards. Thanks very much for that. It's really, really interesting. So it's not only the MGM lion who's been on the movies a bit in Hollywood. Dad is asking if one of these elephants has a cut in its right ear. I'm not sure which elephant you're referring to, Khada. But it is possible. Elephants' ears do get torn and can get a bit tatty, and I can't see any of the ones we're looking at the moment that have cuts. Hi Raisa from Finland, welcome on the back of the vehicle, Raisa. Nice to have you with us again. Raisa, would like to know if one of the young elephants was secreting from its temporal gland. And there was a little bit of secretion out of that young male that was in front of us a bit earlier, and then this young bull is also secreting. She would like to know what is the main purpose and what is that communicating to other elephants. Racer, that is a very hotly debated topic amongst a lot of people. It's thought to be a sign of stress or a sign of high hormones. I'm not sure with a young elephant like that. It doesn't look like it's very stressed, and neither do these elephants. It could be a hormonal change, and what it signals to the other elephants, I'm unsure. And obviously they'll be able to pick up on things that we won't with their sense of smell. But there's always a lot of debate about what those temporal glands and their secretions actually mean. And at the moment, there's a lot of theories, not one of which I will say is definite just yet, but it could be for a number of possibilities. It could be to communicate different information between each other about their state of being. It could be hormonal when they're going through different hormonal stages. So very, very difficult with an animal like an elephant that's got quite a complicated social structure. But I wouldn't want to venture and put my money where my mouth is just yet. And there's lots of different theories about what it could be. So you can see it actually looks like he's feeding off grass there. He's actually picking what looks to be a little rhassus vine out of in between the grass.